We didn't have an ending point.
Yeah, I recall that, but I did recall there was discussion. So.
Get official. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, don't change it. Please don't.
Let's be in the moment. Felix, it's okay.
No, it's okay.
Let's be in the moment.
Yeah, it's
See what
very
it feels
easy for
like.
me to
Okay,
change
okay.
it. I would tell you if I couldn't do it.
Sarah just did enough.
And it's going to be that way both times.
Yeah, and I have to erase the second one. I did hard balls.
This is sometimes when we get our best work.
And I'm going to be trying some slurs and slow movement. Just so you know.
Great.
Don't be surprised.
I'm gonna get some
word.
ramen.
Oh yeah.
What did he say?
I'm going to get some ramen.
Oh, I thought he said coffee.
Before you go, Alex, one word about that last note, and that is upvote. Since we're doing upvote, maybe we don't need to worry about the dominion so much.
Right, so it'll sneak actually.
Yeah.
The only problem is I'm way down here, right? So my first upvote, just so you know, is here.
Okay.
And then I might have to
Okay.
right? Because you were more in the middle, I think.
Yeah, I'm doing it retakes.
Oh. Okay, so I'll see if between the first two,
Okay.
I'll do a little housekeeping, as long as I'm not too nervous. Oh, I did that a lot. I mean, I watched it.
Oh, me too. Sometimes you yeah, me too.
So it was definitely time.
Mine was like busy for today, so I was like,
Yeah, for me it's down. And then you get 7 days down, 3 days in a ponytail, 4th day twist. When I took it down last night, yeah, I have to.
I'm going to record our performance.
Thanks a lot. No, this is good.
oh yeah, because maybe I can excerpt a thing of it.
Dad, no, there's
Put on our.
But it's gonna be on
Yes.
audio.
We're ending at 1:08
we are ending
basically.
on the long note, on a
She wants a
half
service. They didn't want to have
Yeah.
of 108.
video recording
Yeah.
going on.
And we're gonna change. Remember, we changed the volume.
The last note, down, up.
You know what?
Yeah.
I can include it with a previous picture if I can figure out how to do that.
it's nice to have some class here for a while, you know? I'm Sally Isaacson, and I'm not greeting you. I am here to make an announcement, and it's all about Together Colorado. Now, this is a nonpartisan, multiracial, multi-faith community organization that's working to place human dignity at the center of public life in Colorado. Both the First Unitarian and Together Colorado are part of the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. And that alliance promotes justice, religious liberty, and interfaith understanding in order to educate, advocate, and catalyze social change. Big word. This year, Together Colorado is running, this is weird, a pledge card campaign focusing on reminding people to vote. Now, I know all of you are planning to vote, but one of the requests of this group is to contact 5 friends who may not be as avid about civic matters as yourself and remind them to vote. And if you're old enough and have sway, tell them how to vote. But so what they're asking is for us to fill these things out. I have been staring at this for about a half hour, and this is what I've decided I'm doing because I don't fully understand this. I'm going to put my first and last name. I'm going to put First Unitarian under organization, and I am going to just drop it in the basket that I have out there in the first table. And if that's wrong, I'm sorry, you won't get a postcard to remind you to vote. You're going to have to remember on your own. But it's a great group, and I hope several of you will stop by, fill out a card with your name and First Unitarian, and we'll be done. Thanks so much. Good luck at the election.
Good morning. My name is Eddie Carroll, and I serve on the Board of Trustees here at First Unitarian Society of Denver. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you carry joy or sorrow in your heart, you are welcome here. All people of goodwill are warmly invited to join us on the great journey of the mind, the heart, the spirit. If this is your first time with us today, please let the offering basket pass you by when it comes around. Your presence is gift enough. We hope you will join us for coffee and conversation in the community room after service. We would love to get to know you and answer any questions you might have. During coffee hour, if you see someone carrying a yellow mug, that person is holding that mug because they are willing to engage and have conversations with any visitors who are with us here today. You can learn more about us on the Congregational's website, where you can also find our weekly e-blast with information about activities and groups in the church. On this Sunday, our offertory is going to be donated to an organization from the Denver community, which has been chosen by the Faith in Action Council. All cash and checks will be donated in full, unless designated otherwise. And we will learn about which organization is getting the collection later in the service. But for now, relax, and please silence your cell phones and your electronic devices. Welcome. Now, before I do the chalice lighting, I'm going to tell you a little something about my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law found First Unitarian Society when COVID happened, and when we started putting our services out online. And she loves it. And she's very religiously watching every single Sunday. So I want to say, hi, Mom. Glad you're here. And you know what? While I'm saying hi to Mom, I'm going to say hi to everybody else out there. We want you to know that we understand some of you stay home for various reasons. Some of you are very far away now and you're watching online. Others of you are still concerned about COVID and other health issues. But we missed you. And we'd love for you to come back and visit sometime. So when you feel up to it and when you feel confident, come visit us again in the sanctuary. We'd love to see you. Our chalice lighting words come to us from Gary Kowalski from his meditation book, Green Mountain Springs, and it's entitled Harvest. The last tomatoes in the garden are clinging to the vine, doing their best to ignore the change in season. It's my neighbor's garden, and because they're not my tomatoes, I can afford to be philosophical about them. It occurs to me that the basic strategy of these vegetables is a mistaken one. The biological winners will be those that accepted their fall with grace weeks ago, when the ground was still warm and welcoming. Next year, they will be the ones to produce the new seedlings. What is it, I wonder, that keeps these last fruits hanging on? Is it hope? Fortitude? Perseverance? Or just a bad sense of timing? Timing is essential to the art of living, knowing when to hang in there and when to let go, when to struggle and when to surrender. Knowing how to recognize the seasonal changes in our lives, may we be blessed with the wisdom of good gardens. Give me a minute.
Whoever you are and wherever you are so welcome here, particularly if this is your first or second time joining us. Please join me in singing, and as you sing, turn to the people around you, in front of you, behind you, and welcome them here with this song. It's all good. We are many, we are one, the light of the world is within you. Sacred and worthy is your soul, a place has been made for you. Welcome, one and all. This morning, before we go on, I just want to say welcome and thank you to our guest musicians, the Highland Square Ensemble. They will be performing right here in this sanctuary on Saturday, November 5th at 11 a.m. It is free and open to all, and they'll be performing two pieces, including the movements of the piece that they're playing this morning, the Haydn Sunrise Quartet, the other being a piece by Smetana, a Czech composer, his first quartet. I hope you'll take some time and come join us that morning, but until then, please welcome them here, and thank you again for being here.
Good morning, First Unitarian. If you are young or young at heart, come to the front, please. As you are coming up, young and young at heart people, a couple of very quick things. Number one, Miss Erin is not here today because she is at a conference for religious educators from all over the country that are UU in Birmingham, Alabama. She usually comes back with some really awesome ideas, and I know this time she's going to come back with a new tattoo. I saw it on the Facebooks. Also, the children's choir is coming back, and they are going to sing on October 30th, right? 30th, for our multi-generational service. So if you're interested in being in the children's choir, you can go upstairs today or next week with Miss Charlotte. Miss Charlotte, where are you at? Oh, right over there. Thank you. And you can practice. If you miss this week, it's okay. You can still go next week, too. If you didn't hear that, she's got cookies. Awesome. So today, my friends, we're talking about how we can react to things, and sometimes like a good way and sometimes like a bad way. And the way that I usually work things like that out is to pretend. I love me some pretending. So we're going to pretend all together. Don't worry, we're not forming an improv group. You guys will be okay. I'll help you out. Okay, we'll start easy. You can stand or sit for this. It's up for you, right? You're going to be with the person next to you. You don't even have to know them. That's okay. This first one, I have a scenario for you. You are, you made a mistake. You accidentally broke the person's next to you toy or vase or something. The first thing I want you to do is lie about it. Turn to the person and lie to them about that thing you broke. Ready, go. Friends. Hey, you guys have never been in one of my classes, but this is how this works. When I go, friends, you'll say, yes. Ready? Friends. Yes. You got it. You're on it already. Okay. So that's maybe not like the greatest way to handle a broken thing, right? So this time, try this. I'll say it first, then try this with the partner. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I broke your... Is there something I can do to fix it? Try that with your partner. Friends. You guys are on this. It's great. If I have to do twice, I can. All right, let's try a different one. This time, you are having a really hard time. You're having an awful day. And this time, turn to your partner and just don't tell them about it. Just be grumpy and just don't tell them why. Go. Friends. You guys got it back here. I hear it. Awesome. All right. Maybe not the best way to handle it. Let's see. Try this time. Pretend you're having this like a really bad day and turn to your partner and say, man, I'm just having a really bad day. From you, I need Maybe it's a hug. Maybe it's to just have some space, right? Say, I'm having a really bad day. What I need from you is. Try that. Friends, friends, friends. Awesome. Last one. This is my favorite, and so I left it for the last one. Okay, let's say that you are just so angry. What I want you to do is throw a fit. Go. Friends, friends. Whoa. That was a little much. All right. That's why it's my favorite, you guys. All right, last thing. Maybe instead of throwing a fit, it's okay to be angry. It's perfectly an acceptable emotion. Everybody feels it if you're a human. If you're a robot like me, never. But it's okay to be angry. Maybe a better way to handle it would to be to do a 5-finger breath. Have you ever heard that before? Okay. Can you come demonstrate? Because I have to hold the microphone. Okay. So on every time you come up a thumb or up a finger, with your other finger, you take a deep breath in. And whenever you go into a dip, you blow it out. Go all the way through those 5. Thanks, Cora. You can do it at your own pace. Finish your 5 fingers. Okay, so there are always ways that we react. We're going to react how we react sometimes, but if we remember that sometimes there's a more positive way and a more negative way to react, we can choose how we react to a thing. Okay. Thank you, my friends, for pretending with me today. Let's sing our friends out to Ari.
Would you all please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing out of the gray hymnal number 123. 1, 2, 3. This is Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning, First Unitarian. I'm Carol Ruckel, a member of the Giving in Action Committee. Twice each month, as you've been told already, we donate our plate collection to a local nonprofit whose work aligns with our social justice priorities. So far this fiscal year, since July 1st, we have raised and donated over $9,000. Today, I'm proud to introduce Carolyn Alexander, the Senior Director of Operations at the Action Center. The Action Center's mission is to provide an immediate and compassionate response to those experiencing hardship with services that stabilize lives and promote pathways to lasting change. Carolyn.
Thank you so much, Carol. I'm Carolyn Alexander. I'm the Operations Director for the Action Center. We dropped the Jeffco a while ago because anyone who needs basic services is certainly welcome. We are located in Lakewood. The Jeffco Action Center. It's a hard thing to drop. The Action Center has been doing the work that we do for the last 54 years. And as far as basic needs, we provide food, clothing, and financial assistance. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about what happened during COVID. We used to distribute about 1 million pounds of food every year. We distributed 3 million pounds per year. Pre-COVID, we would support folks financially, about $150,000 of rental assistance. We did $3 million in 1 year. Wow. And we are now sort of post-COVID, but still trying to figure out how to restabilize our operations. It's hard when you're servicing 300 people a day and able to serve inside your building 65 folks a day, how to figure out how to come back inside. So we are definitely in an interesting situation right now. I wanted to share a little bit with you about where your money specifically will go. Since this is an offering, and thank you so much for your generosity today. I'm the operations director, so I get in charge of spending general operating funds, which is where your offering will go today to keep our lights on, to buy things that are important. And I will tell you, whether it's the Action Center or whether it's another food bank related type organization, and there are many of us in this area that do the kind of work we do, we are so efficient at spending your dollars because we have folks like Arnie. Is that the right name? Yeah. This is one of our great volunteers here. I just was walking up and looked out into the audience, and Arnie helps us load cars every day. Well, not every day. 1 or 2 days a week? Yeah, a couple times a week. So we are so efficient with volunteers and with your dollars. We have thousands. We have 30 staff members and literally thousands of volunteers. I would say 98% of the food we get is probably donated. But when we do use money to buy food, it's for produce, it's for milk, it's for eggs, it's for very nutritious food. So giving your hard-earned dollars to a organization like us that deals with those basic needs is a really efficient place to spend your donation money. The Action Center, keep your eyes on the Action Center for the next 5 years. COVID's taught us a lot. It taught us a lot about how to do things differently. It really opened, for an organization that's been around 54 years, it's not going to be your grandma's Action Center any longer. We've got some really interesting conversations happening, and I don't want to spend any more time up here telling you about our future, but we have fantastic things happening. If you are interested in helping over the holidays, we've transitioned our holiday program from a shopping model for toys to really giving specific families what they are telling us they need. We learned that during COVID. Folks that are really having a hard time, they actually don't need a lot of toys. They need pajamas and socks and underwear and a gift card and those kinds of things. So rather than helping 2,000 families and hand out toys over the holidays, we're adopting 500 families, asking them what they really need to stabilize their family. And we're using the internet to connect community members that would like to connect with a specific family and help them with what they've told us they need. So that's coming up. You can check out the Action Center website if you're interested in adopting a family, or if your church community or your society community would be interested in doing that as a group. So thank you so much for having us here today. I do have some flyers, and I'll be around afterwards if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carolyn. And as many of you know, there are several ways you can donate. The baskets will come around. Thank you, Beverly. You can pay by cash or check on the First Unitarian website. Go to the drop-down menu under Giving and click on Giving in Action under Donate, or through your Breeze account. Let's keep our generosity flowing. Thank you.
First Unitarian, your gifts this morning, freely given, are gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity and your contributions to the Action Center in Jeffco or otherwise. I like to take a moment every Sunday when I can and hold up some of our magnificent, wonderful, thoughtful, spiritual, faithful volunteers. And today, I want to hold up Trudy Glidden, who's here, because Trudy has worked her tail off for months to help make happen a record sealing clinic, which happened yesterday. And about 150 people throughout the Denver and Denver County were able to come in and meet with attorneys and have their cases heard and have their criminal records, or their lack of criminal records, just their arrest records, sealed so that they don't have to report them. And that makes it easier for them to get apartments and jobs and all that kind of thing. Trudy and actually all you folks who attended and helped out, volunteered with that clinic yesterday, would you stand up so we can recognize and thank you? That is faith in action. Amen. Just a couple things I want to let you know about before I go into our joys and concerns and a prayer today. We have a history with the Women's Homeless Initiative here in Denver, and most of you probably know that all got shut down during COVID for obvious reasons, having people in close proximity like that. However, the Women's Homeless Initiative is looking at restarting, because the need, of course, for women to have a safe place to sleep has not gone away. And I have reached out to both of our previous Women's Homeless Initiative coordinators, and I am not hearing back from them. I don't know where they are exactly, but they're not responding. So we've been asked by Women's Homeless Initiative, like, are you guys going to be in this again if we get back started? And I don't have an answer. So this is just to kind of let you know what's happening with that. And it is to ask if that is something that is of interest to you, or even just exploring the possibility of helping to coordinate the Women's Homelessness Initiative when it does get back started, so that we can do it again here at First Unitarian. Please see me. Please let me know if that is something you might be interested in. Even just exploring the idea, and I can give you a much better idea of what's involved and what that program is all about. The other thing I want to let you know about, because it is a priority of the Board of Trustees this year, and also of the staff, and also of mine, is you probably have seen we, for lots of complicated reasons, I think, are getting a lot of visitors coming to church on Sunday morning. People we haven't seen before, and that is just awesome. And at least some of the folks on the board have said, well, that's just great, but I don't know what to say to a visitor. And so here's what I'm going to do. Next Sunday after church, like 10 minutes or so after the service ends, I'm going to offer a workshop right here in this room, and you're all invited, and I'm going to call it Repelling Fewer People. So I hope you'll all come. It's just going to be about 15 minutes, maybe 20, and we will just explore some common language and ways to approach our many visitors so that we don't push them away unintentionally. All right. Those are the two things I wanted to let you know about. Some of the joys and concerns of our larger community. I want to let you know that Erica Trissler and Alicia Bashaw got engaged yesterday right here in this room. And we wish them every happiness. I want to let you know that Sandy Parker, where is she? Back there, sitting next to Jim Shively, they celebrated their 36th anniversary this last week. I want to let you know Ron Ivans McCleary continues to receive chemotherapy, 3 treatments so far, and they are watching him very closely. They appreciate the care and concern of this larger community. I want to let you know Nancy Crow is receiving hours of physical therapy every day in hopes of getting some movement and feeling back in her legs. She appreciates calls and visits, and I happen to know she is watching us online right this moment. So if you just turn to that camera with the light on and say, Nancy, we're thinking about you, we love you, we hope you're doing well. Some former members of ours, Chris Stotler and Marcia Bates, who now live in Florida, have lost everything due to Hurricane Ian a couple of weeks ago. Like everything, their home is gone. At this moment, as far as I know, they have decided not to rebuild and are trying to figure out what their next steps are. Members of our caring team have been in touch with them, but please do hold them in your thoughts and prayers. Our prayer today is from, and kind of setting up where we're going with the sermon later. This is from the Sufi poet Hafiz. I know the way you can get when you have not had a drink of love. Your face hardens. Your sweet muscles cramp. Children become concerned about a strange look that appears in your eyes, which even begins to worry your own mirror and nose. Squirrels and birds sense your sadness and call an important conference in a tall tree. They decide which secret code to chant to help your mind and soul. Even angels fear that brand of madness that arrays itself against the world and throws sharp stones and spears into the innocent and into oneself. Oh, I know the way you can get. If you have not been drinking from love's cup, you might rip apart every sentence your friends and teachers say, looking for hidden clauses. You might weigh every word on a scale like a dead fish. You might pull out a ruler to measure from every angle in your darkness the beautiful dimensions of a heart you once trusted. I know the way you can get if you have not had a drink from love's hands. That is why all the great ones speak of the vital need to keep remembering the unity, so that you will come to know and see it as being so playful and just wanting to help. That is why Hafiz says, bring your cup near to me. For all I care about is quenching your thirst for freedom. All a sane person can ever care about is giving love. Amen. Thank you for being here today. All right. If you want to stand and stretch for a second, that is okay. So a true story that I rarely tell. I was about 13 at the time, and my family of origin was moderately dysfunctional. Not off the deep end or especially abusive or anything like that, but my mother, as I've mentioned before, suffered from chronic untreated depression. And my father dealt with that mostly by overworking and emotional distance. Both my older sisters had already moved out, fleeing at the first opportunity that they had. I'm not complaining. My parents were both well-intentioned humans doing the best they could with the tools they had at the time. I am at peace with them, and I miss them both. But at 13 or so, I don't remember what it was I needed from them or why, but I do remember is that I did need something. Some affirmation, some attention, some connection or some relationship, something, and they did not have it to give that day or maybe that decade. And I was hurt, like really hurt. For whatever reason, I felt like there was no place to turn, and so that day I left the house alone and I walked. And I think it was for a couple of hours, just thinking. And the way I remember it, I was trying to figure out, like, what do I do? How could I be? How do I cope? What options did I have? And I remember I considered running away, and I considered suicide briefly, and I went through all my list of friends, see if there was any place else I could go and stay or live. And the conclusion I came to, and not impulsively at all, but very deliberately, with every ounce of analysis I was capable of, and with some sadness, the conclusion I came to was that I needed to just not need them, because they didn't have anything to give me at that moment in time. And kind of by extension, I needed to not need anyone. Now, I recognize that is kind of a sad and pathetic little story about an immature adolescent boy that I just told you. But it's my story. And I got ridiculously good at not needing anyone, especially my family. I got little odd jobs at 13 and 14, and I earned my own money. I did some high school sports. I never asked them for rides or to come to competitions. I got a job at 15 and a half, and I bought my own car before I turned 17. I dropped out of high school and moved out. I had myself emancipated before I was 18. I never asked them for help, and I prided myself on being fiercely independent, and I was. No regrets, really, though now I know that I hurt both of them in the process of abruptly and thoroughly rejecting pretty much all of their further involvement or intervention in my young life. On the other hand, I learned that this world rewards fiercely independent behavior, especially in men, in 1,000 subtle but very important ways. And I took full advantage of all of those rewards. And I was in my late 20s before it began to dawn on me that my adolescent decision to not need anyone had resulted in an adult who, for all practical purposes, was unable to need anyone. I can be a very slow learner, which I think is a much nicer way of saying stubborn. And if I'm truthful, I still wrestle with being okay with needing people, even though at this point in my life, I know, heart, mind, body, and soul, I need people desperately. Wouldn't even know who I was without my dearest loves. And even knowing that, I still have to resist the urge to shut it down and stay open. This morning, we are continuing the theme we started last week talking about trust. And last week, I made the case that trust is fundamental to our living, to our capacity to be connected, really to our very existence, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. I argued that there is a state of trust beyond all situational instances that allows one to be at home in the world, beyond any particular situation, at home in the world, open to the winds of the Spirit, open to the wholeness that we were born to embody in this world, open to the possibilities of love. This week I want to look a little more closely at what happens when trust is betrayed. And what are the obstacles that we ourselves put in the way of moving towards that, I'm going to say, blessed state of being. You've probably seen the TED Talk by Dr. Brené Brown about vulnerability and her research into human shame, using the classic psychological distinction, right? That guilt is something we feel for something we've done or not done, but shame, on the other hand, is something we feel because of deep-rooted beliefs about who and what we are. It's an important distinction. She says shame can be understood as a fear of disconnection. And she maintains this experience as universal. We all have it, but no one talks about it. She says what underpins this shame, these feelings in our hearts and souls, is the ability to be vulnerable. Isn't it something, she says, when you ask people about love, they tend to tell you about heartbreak? Isn't it something, she says, when you ask people about belonging, they often tell you of their most excruciating experience of being excluded? Isn't it something when you ask people about connection, the stories you get are most likely to be about disconnection? We tend to numb vulnerability to keep ourselves safe and distant. We tend to shut out or just avoid, if we can, those feelings and experiences where being vulnerable is required. Some examples of vulnerability, these are all coming from Dr. Brown's TED Talk. Asking for help when we need it. Initiating sex with a lover, a partner, a friend, a spouse. Asking for a job. Calling someone out on inappropriate or unwanted behavior. Setting healthy, clear boundaries. That's really hard for a lot of people. Moving towards, rather than moving away from, someone who is actively grieving or actively in pain. Waiting for the doctor to call back. All of these require significant emotional courage. Amen? So readily admitting the risks of oversimplifying, Dr. Brown believes there are two kinds of people in the world. Those who have a strong sense of love and belonging, and those who struggle with a sense of love and belonging. And the difference, she says, between those is between those who believe they are worthy of love and belonging and those who do not believe they are worthy of love and belonging. People who believe they are worthy of love and belonging are people who have the courage to be imperfect. They can have genuine compassion for themselves as well as other people. They're willing to let go of who they were told they should be or who they thought they should be in order to be who they are. They share being vulnerable. They're able to see their own imperfections as beautiful, like neither comfortable nor excruciating, but just part of the package, just necessary. It's just how it is. It's okay. They have a willingness to breathe through the discomfort, the waiting, the bad news, the heartbreak, even ecstasy. Like, stay with it. Like, what's your capacity for ecstasy? They let these feelings in rather than pushing them away. They're willing to invest in relationships or endeavors that might not work out, but they invest anyway. Paraphrasing Dr. Brown, here's the quintessentially human paradox. We know that fear of being vulnerable is the core symptom or manifestation of shame and feelings of unworthiness, and we also know that being vulnerable is the very birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, of love. The problem is you can't numb selectively. Doesn't work that way. You can't say, I'm going to numb myself to this shame, this grief, this betrayal, this pain, this rejection, this anger, without also numbing out the joy, the gratitude, the love, the creativity, the happiness. It comes as a whole package, indivisible. Author Susan David says it plainly. I like this quote. Only dead people never get unwanted emotions or inconvenient feelings. Only dead people never get stressed, never have broken hearts, never experience the disappointment that comes from failure. You don't get to have a meaningful career, raise a family, be part of a diverse human community, or leave the world a better place without stress and discomfort. It's the price of admission to a meaningful life. Amen? And of course, everyone's very different. We're not robots. I spoke last week about my two children who grew up in the same house, same parents, and developed completely different coping mechanisms for growing up. We all come into the world with our own bio-neuro-physiochemical personality nuances, neuroses, whatever those are. And in some ways, we all walk a sort of a tightrope, all of us, all the time, between our relational, spiritual aspirations and our relational, emotional limitations. Not long ago, my beloved spouse went through the awful experience of being forced out of a job that she loved. And in the process was betrayed by people she trusted and shamelessly, knowingly gaslit by an immediate supervisor. And for months afterwards, she beat herself up for having been so trusting, for not seeing it coming, for letting herself get hurt like that. It's taken a lot of processing to find the light in that tunnel of self-doubt. And the reality is, she is a fundamentally trusting human being. She comes by it naturally. She'll be the first one to tell you she always sees the glass half full. She loves her rose-colored glasses for looking at the world. It's just part of who she is. In my unapologetically biased opinion, it's one of the things that makes her so lovable. The truth is that it's impossible to be that kind of person without running the risk of, I would say, the inevitability of being hurt. They're two sides of the same coin. The trick is being healthy enough to understand that, to not let knowledge stop you, be trusting of yourself enough to know that you can handle it. Faced with the choice of trying to harden her heart or regrouping to venture out again, I can tell you for my beloved spouse, there's no choice there at all. She could not harden her heart without fundamentally betraying her own deepest knowing of herself. And I think that's pretty much true for all of us, to one extent or another. I did not know it at the time, or I was just too immature to handle it, but that decision of my adolescent self way back when to be essentially emotionally impervious was also a betrayal of my own deepest knowing of myself. Even though at the time it felt, and I believed it was both necessary and kind of inevitable. I'm not sharing these personal stories because I think they are especially unique or unusual, because I don't think they are that, either one. I'm sharing them in hopes of you reflecting on your own story, your own wounds, your own gifts, your own vulnerabilities, the tightrope that you walk in this world. So some coping and defense mechanisms that are generally thought to be unhealthy are denial. All right, something awful has happened or is happening, and you just don't acknowledge it. And by the way, I'm going to list a bunch of these things, and I'm pretty sure I've done every one of them. Another one is acting out. You often see this with children. That is venting in some negative way just to release the anxiety. Dissociation, which often happens during a trauma where someone just disconnects from their feelings, from their thoughts, even from their surroundings. Projection. I've done that. Imagining your own unwanted or uncomfortable thoughts or feelings, imagining that they're actually coming from somebody else. I have a dear friend actually who has the gift and the burden of introjection, which is the opposite of projection. She literally absorbs and feels the emotions of people who are in close proximity to her. She tells stories of being in meetings and starts to notice that she's like feeling angry. And she does an inventory and realizes she's not really angry, she just feels angry, so she has to look around the room and see whose emotions it is that she's picking up. Inadvertently interjecting into herself. Rationalizing. Got any rationalizers here? Repression. Somatization, which is when these feelings become manifest in our bodies in some uncomfortable way, some illness, some ache, some pain, some tension, some knot. And trivializing. Any other trivializers here? These are all coping defense mechanisms that really might be completely necessary in any given moment. I'm not saying they're pathological or anything like that. We all do them. We do them for good reasons. It's okay. And they are generally recognized as unhealthy defense mechanisms because they rarely lead to healing. And they can sometimes even make things worse. There's a lot of healthy coping mechanisms out there too, of course, like honesty, community, connections, setting clear boundaries and enforcing them, journaling, therapy, prayer, meditation, my personal favorite, laughter, especially laughing at oneself. I love the passage from Rumi that goes, I can't open the page. There. I love the passage from Rumi that goes, do you think I know what I'm doing? That for one breath or half breath I belong to myself as much as a pen knows what it's writing or the ball can guess where it's going next. Inside the great mystery that is, we don't really own anything. What is this competition then we feel before we go one at a time through the same gate? You sit here for days saying, this is strange business. You are the strange business. You have the energy of the sun inside you, but you keep it knotted up at the base of your spine. You're like some weird kind of gold that wants to stay melted in the furnace so you won't have to be coins to be spent. We've only scratched the surface of defense mechanisms or the wisdom of defense. We've only scratched the surface of trust. But I want to end with this thought. Something my colleague, Reverend Jan Christian, once wrote in a beautiful reflection about losing her brother in Vietnam. She said, pain that is not transformed is transmitted. Pain that is not transformed is transmitted. And my hope for all of us this morning is to transform anything and everything that keeps us from growing in trust, in love, and in spirit. Amen.
Would you please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing out of the great hymnal number 211, We Are Climbing Jacob's Ladder, after which we'll sing our closing affirmation and have the benediction. I invite you to remain standing. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing on. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. We are climbing on. If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? If I stumble, will you help me? We are climbing on. Though the road is steep and rugged, though the road is steep and rugged, though the road and rugged, we are climbing on. Behind all our differences and beneath our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars. Throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars.
Our benediction today is again from the Sufi poet Hafiz. Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that. We are called to a revolutionary love that demands that we not let go. A love that demands that we draw our circle wider and wider and wider still. A love that asks nothing in return. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky. Our service is ended. Go in peace.